is Detective Christopher. Detective, is that correct? Christopher Duque. Retired.
Yeah.
He's a 30-year veteran of the Honolulu Police Department. He worked in the Uniform Patrol Division, Narcotics Vice Division. In 1985, he was promoted to Sergeant Detective and was assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division and remained in that division until his retirement in February of 2007. In 1990, he was assigned to the White Collar Crime Unit, where he specialized in cyber crime investigations and computer forensics. Detective Duque is still considered and recognized as one of Hawaii's leading computer and internet crime investigators. He's conducted investigations in a wide assortment of criminal offenses. These includes trafficking of child pornography, identity theft, various forms of internet fraud, hacking, network intrusion cases, harassing and threatening cases, and child exploitation cases. In 1999, Detective Duque investigated Hawaii's first documented identity theft, an internet fraud crime series in which personal information, names, dates of birth, social security numbers, etc., were used to perpetrate a fraud. In 2002, he was recognized as Detective of the Year. He is a member of the High Technology Crime Investigations Association and is recently awarded the FBI's 2008 Director's Community Leadership Award, which was personally presented to him by the FBI Director Robert S. Murrell at a ceremony held at the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. Detective Duque, welcome, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. First, I want to let representatives know that I'm honored and flattered to be invited to do this presentation. When I was asked to do a presentation on cybercrime, I was wondering how much time was the lawmakers was going to allow me. And I told Linda, who called me up, he says, is this a 1 week session or a 1 month session? Because when it comes to cybercrime, it's so much embedded, the technology is so much embedded in our lifestyle, in our society, that we cannot think about it as technology, we just have to think of it as part of our life. Cyber safety, fighting cybercrime, starts from family and works outward. We have to develop core values within our families, supported by the teachers, reinforced by our lawmakers and law enforcement. Finally, the family bond needs to be strengthened and kept intact, more so as they become young adults. But anyway, the dark side of the internet. That's my contact information. The internet is an extraordinary tool for boundless use and is only limited by the imagination of its users. However, but what if the user is a criminal, a pedophile, an identity thief, a fraudster, a terrorist, cyberbully? They all are users of the internet as well as us. The focus today is to provide some insight into the nature of the internet and how it enhances criminal and unethical behavior, making it almost impossible to identify, investigate, and prosecute the wrongdoer. As a cyber thug, a cyber criminal, a cyber terrorist, I'm a ghost. My experience working undercover in the streets of Honolulu was a natural transition into cyberspace. Because when I go into cyberspace, I can be anybody I want to be. I can be Representative Ward, or I can be Representative Pine. I can be Representative Rivera's grandson. I can be Representative Marumoto's daughter. I can be Representative Fontaine himself. So are we chasing ghosts on the internet? Yes, we are. Major areas of concern that when we talk about cyber safety, cyber crime, there's three major areas: the technology, the information, and users. Understand that computer systems, the internet is a tool. We have to look at user behavior. And that's the key. When I found out the hard way after 30 years of fighting crime, that, you know what, maybe the key is not to control the devices, but start focusing on human behavior. Why are people stealing? Why are people doing drugs? Why are people causing, why are the kids cyberbullying? We're not looking at that. The Band-Aid solution is attack the technology, the quick, fast solution. But the problem is still there. We still have pedophiles before the internet. We had thieves before the internet. We had fraudsters before the internet. Technology today just brings them out of the woodwork. The worst thing, it allows them to communicate with each other. That's the thing. Okay, so now let's talk about the first area. Features of the internet. 4 main features of the internet. A facade of anonymity, the global communication medium, easy accessibility, and permanence. These are the features of the internet. The facade of anonymity, like I said, I can be anyone, you can be anyone you want to be on the internet. Anytime you have a device between you and someone you're communicating with, it's a mask. One of the biggest problems with the internet is that this anonymity issue. We don't know who we're communicating with. Not only our kids, but our kapunas, you yourself. Not only text messages, emails. Global communication medium. The ability to communicate in real time to multiple people across the time and space. That's the thing to understand. And one of the big things about the global medium, when we talk about laws, the jurisdiction issues. China don't recognize us. They're not going to honor a search warrant from Prosecutor Chris Van Martin from the Honolulu Prosecutor's Office. Even for the federal government. So when we start making laws for the state of Hawaii, we better make sure that we have reciprocal laws in the other states and maybe something in the federal side. But again, too, what if the perpetrators are coming off the east, which is where it's mostly coming from? The attacks, the cyber attacks, are coming from across the sea, across the Pacific in the east. So we got to consider that, the jurisdiction issues. Easy accessibility, meaning that anybody, anywhere can access the internet. And one, you don't have to own computers. You don't have to pay for the service. You get them in the schools, you get them in the libraries. You can borrow it from your friends. So going after and controlling accessibility, no. Criminals don't worry about that because they steal it. They steal your laptop, they steal your desktop, they steal your access. Same thing with kids. When we try to combat cyberbullying, take the computers away from the kids, take the cell phones. That's right. Representative Pine is my classmate. Kymberly, can I use your laptop? Fine, I will update my Facebook and do some more cyberbullying. Accessibility, permanence. The digital elephant. The internet is a digital elephant. It never forgets. You post online, you put a click, there's no oops key or an owie key on your keyboard to reverse that action. The information you'll post, the embarrassing picture you posted when you was in college, high school, grade school, or even half an hour ago, is going to be out on the internet and going to travel the world several times over. And it'll be copied by billions of computers, maybe 2 billion at the very least. And how are you going to get that thing back? And that segues into another thing too, the nature of information. Information, once presented, can no longer be controlled by its presenter. We have to understand that. Whether it's on the internet or even in face-to-face. Once I say something, I do something, I hurt an individual, can I bring it back? No, all I can do is apologize. But it'll be embedded in their memory for as long as they live. The internet lives longer. When we are just ashes, the internet will still be there. Trust me. The most vulnerable point in any computer system is where the user interfaces with technology. And that's the key. Most people put themselves in a position to be victimized. They're totally clueless about their surroundings and are completely in the dark. And when it involves cyberspace, that's the dark side of the internet. I was going to talk about a case profile that I did back in 98, 99. Pyong Pak, aka Peter Pak. Maybe Prosecutor Van Martin will be talking about him, but he was notably the first major internet fraudster identity thief in Honolulu. And he came to my desk from a detective in Maui. It was a Nate Maya case, and I saw my partner was in the back row right there, Erin Okido, still a detective full soul in HPD, probably working by himself fighting cybercrime. But anyway, both of us tracked this guy for 8 months. You talk about a logistic investigative nightmare. But it was easier then than it is now, I tell you that. Because then, back then, getting information from the ISPs was easier. Now it's a little bit harder because they were a little bit more protective of the information and with working with us, law enforcement. Peter Pack served an open 10 years. If you remember the name now, just a little while ago, maybe several months ago, the prosecutor Van Marla just indicted him again after serving 10 for the same thing. Talk about prison being criminal college. What did he learn from 10 years incarcerated at Hawaii? Nada. Obstacles facing obstacles. The features of the internet are the obstacles. As I just explained to you, the features that I explained to you folks about the internet, the 4 features, those are the major obstacles facing law enforcement, facing us when we're trying to combat cybercrime. And our laws are not going to address that. Other obstacles, manpower, and Chief Yabuno was mentioning that, manpower, training. The training has to be up to date. Our National White Collar Crime Center gives free training for investigators in computer forensics. If you need to contact them, let me know. Search is another group. There's free training for these guys. If you just have to go ahead and look and ask. Equipment. You cannot go to a gun barrel with a butter knife. When I was at HPD, Windows, 98, and you fighting crime. In fact, there was a time we investigators brought our own personal laptop. I think maybe Representative Fontaine, remember, most of your equipment and training, you had to bring your own. So the thing is that we have to, when we're thinking about law enforcement, we gotta worry about the manpower, the training. Laws, again, we gotta think about, if you're gonna look at laws, just start thinking about jurisdictional issues. This is what it comes down to, money. And in this time, money is tight everywhere. Okay, possible solutions. I'm not going to tell you about all the bad, I'm not going to leave you with the bad things and I'll give you some possible solutions. These are 2 things that I feel that can help, is partnerships. Developing partnerships, not only with, like the chief was talking, with the military, partnerships with various sectors of our community. We need to partner with the business community, the industry that provides the technology, the internet service, the computer systems, the infrastructure. We need to partner with them because understand that there may be a way to circumvent the jurisdictional issues. I may not be able to have Singapore honor a search warrant, but if I'm working with a company who has a corporate presence in Singapore, I may get some records to them because my partnerships I develop from a corporate level. Got some experience working with HP on one of those cases, with PAC cases. I was able to get records from England because I had worked with HP who had a presence in England. So working with different partnerships with the private sector, working with the academia. That's another one, education. We cannot, law enforcement, government cannot do it by itself. Working with the military, we have to work together. And the partnership going to lead into education awareness. That's important. One of the good partnerships too is like I'm a former president of InfoGuard. It's a partnership between law enforcement and the private sector, the businesses which provide the technology infrastructure. And right now, InfoGuard has expanded to the different vectors involved with the infrastructure protection of the United States. So like right now, I'm in daily contact with people, the Tennessee Valley Authority. I'm in contact with people who are handling the water purification out in Alabama. And I wouldn't have made those connections if I hadn't been part of InfoGuard. Another thing to education awareness. We have to educate our public, not only as well as ourselves, as to the risks and dangers. It has to be constant, and has to be continuous, and should be updated continuously. And it should be open means of communication. Do not attack the technology, we need to attack the behavior. Goals of education: reduce chances of being an easy target, the low-hanging fruit. We're not going to stop it, okay? But we're going to minimize the damage. Speed up the recovery process by developing a response or an emergency plan when bad things happen. Here are the risks and dangers of the internet facing all of us, and no in particular order. Here's some basic cyber safety advice. Think before you interact. Is the information presented accurate, real, true? Who am I communicating with? Who can I see what I post? Remember, you're feeding a digital elephant. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions?
I have a question for the detective. You said when you were following Peter Pack that you did for about 8 months, you said it was easier to track someone back then than it is now. What's more difficult about it now?
Well, back then, it was basically who you know, and I had developed a relationship with the different ISP providers and service providers. Again, like I say, I was partnering with the business community, the people who had a vested interest, vested even though it has to do with bottom line. HP, Compaq, Amazon, working with them to find out who these persons were that were just stealing them blind. So they would be giving me information. They would have queued my requests. So all I need to do is to get the subpoena over, signed, faxed, and right away I get the information to follow my leads. Now it takes a little bit longer time. They will understand the laws much more. They understand that, and they worry more about releasing information and expose the company to some kind of litigation. So that's what they're concerned about now.
Chris, you said you can be anybody you want to be. You said you use terror, invasion, and all the other T's. You said 3 T's. Who protects us from you when you want to be one of those guys?
My moral compass.
What?
My moral compass.
Protects us.
Yeah. Trust
From
me.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Beyond that, are there any governmental, private, or otherwise people standing guard, like we can call 911 if we're getting robbery, we can
You can.
speeding ticket, we have a policeman.
This.
Who protects us from you? If you can do that as easily, and you've been on it for 30 years, who's protecting us? Are we protected?
No. No. You
Why
can
not?
report it. You can report it, and they can respond the best they can.
The guys bringing their own computer in, guys without training?
They can do it from any place. They can be from
No, I mean, the
No.
ones protecting us. It sounds like it's still.
the ones who protect us, they're still learning. They're still behind the curve. We're trying our best. Look at the streets when you walk outside and see if there's a cop on every corner. Call 911 and see how fast they respond. And after they respond to the case and write the report, who's replacing them on that street corner? Look at cyberspace. Is there a cop on there 24/7 watching to protect us, our kapunas, our keiki? Law enforcement is strictly reactive to any kind of cyber attack, cyber crime. Same thing with the United States when we're looking at cyber warfare. We can put up our walls and our castle walls, but what if the threat, the risk is inside the walls? What if it's been infiltrated? What if there's moles among us waiting? Not to break in, to break out. Have you thought about that?
Chris, I have a question. I read somewhere that one of the biggest issues of cybersecurity is that a company can have like the absolute best firewall in the world, but perpetrators will actually go into a parking lot of a company and actually drop a DVD, a CD on the ground, make it look like pornography or whatever. They'll drop a jump drive on the ground. and employees will come along and find it in the parking lot, pick it up, take it inside to their office, and load it up on the computer. Boom, it's a Trojan horse, opens up the firewall, and all outbreaks loose. So how do we deal with that issue?
I know what you're talking about, Representative Fontaine, because I've done it before. I've done it as early as when they had, remember when they have to have this thing called AOL, this company, and it was in free CDs and you put them in stores. I created my own AOL Hell DVD or CD at that time, package it, and watch how many people would go to the freebie, take it out, but it wouldn't do nothing bad except give them look like a blue screen of death, but nothing happened to the computer, just pop out the CD. But exactly what you're saying, education awareness. Let people know, don't put things in your computer. I tell, one of my analogies I talk to the public about is like education awareness. One, you can tell them, don't put CDs or strange devices. And I use the analogy of a pot of rice. You're not going to use you're not going to food court. Oh, I forgot my eating utensils. Oh, there's one right there on the next table. Grab it and use it. You know where it was, right? Think about the same analogy when you find a CD, a USB. Don't put it in your friend's computer now, okay? I know what some of you folks are thinking, but education awareness. You tell people don't do that.